Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on facial expressions. And this is kind of a jumping off point from one of the earlier ones on just basic line work. But as you can see, I have four things here, all just the basic the basic head shapes as I've shown before. But what I'm going to be doing here is I'm actually going to be going through and showing kind of a little bit in depth of how to do a few major expressions that you're going to be seeing. Now I'm just going to jump right into right to start over here. I'm going to be making all these of the same character, nothing in particular, but I figured that to make things a little bit easier. But we're going to start with just a content, passive, nothing really going on face. Now of course you're going to start it normally as you would all of them with just the eyes. If I can get the eyes to work right. There we go. I say there we go, and then I immediately messed it up. So, the first thing you're going to want to note is that the only thing that really changes between the expressions are just a few main things. Eyebrows are one that's going to be changing a lot. You always have a little check mark for angry and the upturn for just whatever. Here we're just going to be doing a basic just little line. The eyes are going to be changing as well, but I'll show an example of that later on. The snout itself won't really change, but the mouth will, naturally, as sometimes you'll be saying some type of expression or you'll be communicating something. But this first one is just going to be, nothing's really going on. If I can get this to work. And the way that this expression generally works is, there's just nothing. Like, there's no little, upturn of the corner of the mouth, there's no goofy expression, there's just nothing. You may be wondering, well, why on earth would you ever want to do this? This is mostly good for references. This is generally pretty boring, but it gets the point across really nicely. So, as it goes through, just kind of in the side groups. Sometimes, if you're a bit on the more cartoony side, or really crazy expressive, then even the hair will be changing as well. Like, you'll see it in some comic books and stuff like that, wherein the character gets surprised and suddenly the hair is standing completely on end. You can take those basic concepts and actually use them for just regular expressions too. Of course, maybe not to that extreme, but you get the idea. You definitely can if you really want to. Now, one of the benefits of Anthro characters versus more human characters is actually how well you can show expressions. And what I mean by that is they have more vehicles of doing so. So, let's take a normal person. The way that you would show expressions with just anybody is you would change the eyebrows, the eyes, the mouth, and maybe even like the creases on where the face would be. Like if they're really angry, there'd be a furrow on the brow and things like that. But with an Anthro character, you also have the benefit of the ears. And while it may not seem like a whole lot, it changes the complete silhouette of the character. And that will immediately convey certain emotions. And they're pretty much universal. Wherein, for other things with Anthro characters, there's no such universal idea of it, because there's no actual examples to compare things to as easily. So, have this character looking at us. Just a basic, passive, meh, nothing's really going on expression. Now the hair here actually hides the other ear. Actually, yeah, we would argue you could probably still see that if the ears are upturned. So, you have passive. Write it in so you see it. Now over here, we're actually going to be doing just a slight change of this one. We're just going to be doing happy. So, actually, I'm going to show exactly what I mean by this. Oh, wrong thing. I was only meaning to copy this layer. So if we copy this layer and move it over, yeah, this may look incredibly lazy, but I'm seriously going to show you how simple this is. So, passive. Happy. Not much to really say on that mark. Now, one thing that I will have to note is, this is one thing that's a bit of a, it's not universally accepted, but it's still true in some cases, type of thing, is, normally with people, when you smile, the act of the smile will actually, like, push skin up and pull muscles, and actually make your eyes do this. That's why generally whenever someone happy, it's just two upward angles, because it's just a expansion of the idea that when you're happy, it'll pull your face up. Now, if it's just like a little smirk like this, that's not actually true. But if there was like this huge open grin, then yeah, the act that would probably push the eyes just up just a little bit. Not a whole lot. It would probably be, for example's sake, it would probably just bring them up to about there. But that little bit will actually help convey the emotion better. And of course it would happen on the other side of the face too. But we're going for a more generally happy look. Not some crazy psycho killer level of happy. So these two are actually pretty similar. But if we go down here, we're actually going to be showing one that's a little bit different, and that's going to be anger. Now, there's not, I was going to say there's not a whole lot of differences between them, but in all honesty, there actually are. I don't know why I was even thinking that there wouldn't be. Happiness and anger? It's the exact same thing. I don't know what you're talking about. So to start it off, you would have furrowed brows and angry faces. You might even go through a little bit and put a crease there as well if you're being super expressionist with it. With this one, we are going to have that little bit of an upturn of the face, because we're going to have to give them a growl. Actually, I'm going to erase this eyebrow. I don't know why I really put the eyebrows in first. You can if you want to, but that one didn't exactly turn over as I had hoped. So let's erase it and put in a different one. And on the other side, it's much the same thing. So you have the eyes with a slight upturn to them, so you know that the mouth is going to be doing something. And you pull the nose out, much the same as everything else. Now, the way you can go about drawing the mouth for this, there's a lot of different ways. You can have them doing this, wherein they're just, it pulls back up and back down again. You could have it be straight and actually just show a couple of teeth, although that generally will make them look just kind of dorky. But you can make it work sometimes. In some cases, all you would do is just have the teeth in there. So, just spontaneous teeth would be jutting out. And that would make them look very angry as well. What I'm going to be doing is kind of a mix of them. Be doing this upwards / downwards angle, and then throwing the teeth in, but we'll be pulling down the bottom jaw as well. So giving them kind of a bit of a growl. Someone really peeped this character off. And as we come around here, one thing that's nice to do with angry characters is to give them more points. And that may sound kind of strange. Yeah. But when you give a character a lot more sharp edges and sudden turns, like just triangles everywhere, it will kind of make the character look more aggressive. Like a lot of sharp things. You don't want to deal with something with a lot of sharp things. Much the same with someone who's angry. you kind of don't want to mess with them. And the same idea falls through here. Now, with the ears, again, it's one of those cases where you don't have a whole lot to really compare this to. I mean, again, you can argue, oh, you can just compare them to animals. Yeah, well, you know what? Try getting furries to agree. That's as simple as that. But with the ears, when they're angry, there's two ways you can go about it. You can go about upwards ears, as in they're really angry and they're paying attention to what's making them angry, or downwards ears. Now, in some cases this will make them look in extreme distress instead of the original idea of what you want to get across. But in most cases, this would probably be more accurate to what it really should be. Again, in this case, it would be more so they're getting ready for a fight and they want to protect their ears. Having them closer to the body is more difficult to grab than having it just pointed straight up. And I'm going to keep the downward ear one. There's not a whole lot of excuses to use downward ears unless they're really, really sad. So I kind of want to take this as an opportunity to do so. But in this regard, this is one of those things where you can absolutely go with what you want. And just like the other one, I then find the other downward ear, and I'm going to bring this back to that old tutorial I've done, which I'm probably going to link at the beginning of this, as I referenced it so much. I can find where this line is, this sketch line down here, and find out where on the other side I should put this roughly. So it would roughly end up about here, but taking into account the shape of the head, it would drop down some, so that would be where the other end would be. And of course we can draw a straight line between them, and it goes straight through both the eyes at roughly the same spots, and they meet up, so it all checks out. And of course I forgot to put this down here. And probably have them looking at whatever it is making them angry. So you have the anger. Now, for the last one, you have a little bit of a... how do I explain this? Yeah, that explains it pretty well. This one is kind of a mix between disgust and surprise. And honestly, I thought it would just be kind of fun to do. So, the way you start this one off is, let's just start off with the eyebrows again. You kind of mix. A little bit of interest while at the same time do WTF. But they're much higher than normal. So, you would see the entire eye for this. But you just pull the eyebrows much higher than you would otherwise. And I'm trying to connect this seamlessly, but I can't seem to do that properly. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to crease the edge over here, because, frankly, I feel like it. And as we generate the snout, ooh, that's a fancy term for this. I'm going to have an open expression as though the character is saying this, but again, extreme upturn because they're in shock or in some type of surprise. Now this is one time wherein it kind of comes down to artist preference, but when I have the character's mouths open, unless they're extremely angry, or there's certain characters, I actually don't put in all their teeth. I frankly just go for the fangs, or the canines. In my mind, I would just imagine that the lips are covering up the majority of everything else. Plus, it makes the canines much smaller than much smaller than I would otherwise. Again, that's just one of my personal preferences. You don't have to go with it. You don't have to do so as well if you don't want to. As some people have pointed out, it kind of makes them look like vampires. But I like it. That's just how I do things. So, this person's, their friend is probably next to them doing something kind of crazy or strange. So, in most cases, they probably wouldn't be in anxiety or defending themselves, so the ears would be up in this case. Although, maybe just not as high up as they would be otherwise. That, or you could say they're in complete shock, and they're actually more up than usual. Let's go with that. Again, using kind of the same logic that I used in my previous videos, wherein you use this basic outline to understand where everything would be connecting to. And you give the character more rounded of an expression, more rounded things, less points, because they may be in shock, but it's from someone that they know in this context. If it was completely new and strange and some random person coming up and doing something really stupid or weird, then they would probably feel a bit more threatened and subsequently their expression would change. That's the weird thing with expressions, is for the most part they vary greatly between situations. Think about it this way: if you're hanging out with a bunch of your friends, they oftentimes say or do things that you wouldn't really do around your parents in most cases. And the same can be said here. Why did I... Yes, this is their body now. And again, they're probably looking at their friend who's doing whatever this is. The other ear would subsequently be pointed up as well, giving the character actually a very cat-like look. And of course, the hair down below. So I'm gonna kick this in time-lapse real quick and color and shade these things, and I will be right back to do the wrap-up. And welcome back. So, as you can see, I kind of went through and did some light shading across the board just so that everything was consistent. But yeah, as you can see, the only things that's changed between them is just the line work, and even some of them, even fewer things changed, like between passive and happy. So I hope you learned a lot through this video. This is actually a suggestion. If anyone else has any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll be sure to work on them as soon as I can. And as always, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.